Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about my motivations for learning 4 languages. Part of it is because some people have asked me and it's come up enough where I was like, I should make a video on it. And the other half is I think it's just really interesting. So let me know what your motivations are for the language that you're learning in the comments below and how that's changed over time. I think this is going to be a really interesting sort of time capsule for me to look back on and say, this is what I was motivated to do at that point and see if it changes over the course of however long or whenever I'm coming back to look at this. So these are my motivations for learning 4 languages now. We'll see how they change in the future. All right, let's go. I personally think that any motivation is valid as long as it pushes you to put in the work to reach your goals. Because if you have your why, you'll figure out your how. All right, the first language I'm going to talk about is Armenian because it is definitely the one I get the most questions about. It's for sure one of those lesser studied languages, especially if you're not Armenian, which I am not. To talk about why I'm learning Armenian, we're going to go all the way back to when I was a freshman in college. So after my first year of college, I really wanted to take summer school classes. So I was going through, seeing what was offered, and I was like, that sounds cool, that sounds cool, that sounds cool. And I was adding them all to cart, which adding to cart in the context of education is just like very Amazon-ified sort of thing, but whatever. So I'm adding to cart and I go to check out and the total is like $5,000 or something like that. And I'm just like, this is not going to work. Like, this is not going to happen. So I started looking into other options of what I could do over the summer. And I found the Critical Languages Institute. So these classes were offered all summer long and it was 8 credits or something at about $600. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm listening, I'm interested. And then when I saw that they were teaching lesser studied languages, I was like, sign me up so quick. So I was looking through the languages that were offered and I really knew that I wanted to study a different script. I think there's something about having the challenge in there and just learning something outside of the Latin alphabet. So that narrowed it down in between Russian and Armenian. And then I saw that Armenian was on its own branch of kind of the linguistic family tree. And I was like, yes, that just sounds so cool, so unique. There's just like something about it that it's a different script. It's on its own branch. It's not related to anything, at least that's around still. And I was just like so enamored by that idea. So I signed up for Armenian and I loved it. I loved that summer. I loved how speaking Armenian made me feel. I loved how it sounded. I loved how just the whole thing felt. I loved just speaking and being in Armenian. And obviously I wasn't necessarily like thinking 100% in Armenian at that point. I wasn't that advanced. So this is definitely where I caught that language bug of just being like so excited about being a part of something outside of my little corner of the world. So after that summer, I was like, yes, like this is what we're gonna do. Like, let's go, let's learn Armenian. But it was only offered during the summer. And so, life gets in the way, you take other classes, you do other things, and you keep telling yourself you're going to come back to it, and then it's been 10 years, and you're like, I'm going to study it, I still have the books, like, I'm going to get back to it, I'm going to do it, I'm going to learn it, I really love this, like, let's do this, and then it never happens. So last March, when, like everyone else, I found myself at home, not really doing the things I was used to doing, I was kind of like, well, it's really either now or never, right? Like, I don't know what other time I'm going to have this much kind of free space in my life. So that's when I kind of started to pick it back up again. And so that's why I'm learning Armenian again for the first time. I don't know, you tell me which one it is. It's just still so special and unique to me. And so I've really enjoyed learning it. It's been a lot of false starts. I got really spoiled by my teacher and the program that I was in college because definitely learning it on my own has been a lot more challenging than learning it with a great teacher in a small class size for 8 hours a day or something like that. So I haven't learned enough to have necessarily like a full conversation, but where I'm at now, this will serve as sort of like a progress diary. Let's see if I can do this on camera. Im anune marisa e, yev yes haychem hayuhi chem, Amerikuhi M. What else? Yev what? Bari Lewis, Baravzez, Stetesu Chun, Shnor Halkalu Chun for watching. So obviously, like, it's still very here and there, but I'm still really excited to keep going and I'm excited to learn more. And I don't know, I just also really love the script as well still. So let's keep going with Armenian. And the next language is So Spanish is definitely the one I get the least questions about. I think it's just kind of like a given in a way. You know, you don't get questions about why you want to learn French or Spanish or German. And so that's why I feel like sometimes these motivations never really come up, is because it's just kind of prescribed. It's like accepted, you know? But I still wanted to talk about my motivations for learning Spanish, and as sort of a progress check, I wanted to do it in Spanish. But I was kind of like, that's going to be a little too difficult for me right now. So I'm going to do it in English and attempt in Spanish, which I know isn't perfect. So please be nice in the comments. Thank you. There have been so many times in my life where I felt like I was at an actual deficit for not knowing Spanish. From my job to traveling to being in the streets to being at the laundromat. It was kind of everywhere being in the US, and I lived on both West Coast and East Coast, and it was the same. You know, I still felt like part of me was missing being able to have a connection or even just a basic conversation with somebody anywhere in the US. And so I've tried to learn Spanish a few times in my life, which hasn't really gotten anywhere. But when quarantine hit, I was like, I'm gonna do this for real, like full steam ahead learning Spanish. So now it's been actually almost a year since I started learning Spanish, and I definitely feel a lot more confident in it. And I'm really excited to keep going in it because it has brought me other options for communication or connection with people. So my Spanish right now, I'm going to try and tell that story again in Spanish. So bear with me. There's going to be pauses. There's going to be a lot of awkward moments, and there will be cuts because I'm going to edit out those pauses just for kind of the sake of time. Let's see how this goes. Hace un año, en la cuarentena, empecé a aprender español otra vez. He tratado aprender español muchas veces también, pero no funcionó. Entonces ahora me dijo, vamos, ahora es el tiempo aprender español. What else did I say? Y en mi vida ha sido muchas veces en las calles, en mi trabajo y en la lavandería. Deseé saber español. Entonces ahora yo veo que saber español es muy bien en mi vida y abrí las puertas en la vida y con comunicación con otras personas, y estoy muy emocionada a aprender más y me gustaría aprender más. What else did I say? But I hope that kind of provides a little bit of progress as to where I am now. All right, the next language is Tagalog. So the reason I'm learning Tagalog is...
Kumusta ka?
You may know Kevin from our Filipino snacks and sweets video.
Masarap.
Masarap. So Kevin's family speaks Tagalog, and I just kind of want to be like in on it. My goal right now, I'm saying, is like I want to chat with the ladies. Right now I'm not really interested in learning like how to talk about politics or literature or economic. If I get to that point in Tagalog and I'm like still super interested in wanting to go further, like I'll definitely go further. But right now it's just to kind of like be in on the fun and be able to like participate in stuff.
Yeah, you want to be in the Filipino network where they know things before you know things before they know that you know the things.
Yes. So what do I know right now? I know like basic sentences, but it's still kind of limited. So, kumusta ka? Ako si Marissa. Pangalan ko ay Marissa. Gusto ko ng kape. Gusto ko ng asul. Umiinom ng tubig.
Sobrang.
Araw-araw. Lamig ako sa Enero na araw-araw. Like I'm cold in January every day. So I'm like piecing it together. It's definitely been a fun challenge as an Austronesian language. I'll put kind of the sentence structure up above here, but it's very different. For me, it forces me to really think about what I'm saying in its entirety, like the whole concept of what you're trying to say before I actually open my mouth. Like you can't just rely on being like, and then thinking and like waiting for that pause to happen. Like you have to think about the action before who's doing it, which is like a fun switch a little bit. Yeah, so this is why I'm learning Tagalog, to chat with the ladies and just be in on stuff. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now. So
Sige na!
paalam! So Polish is one of those languages that I don't necessarily have like a super deep meaning behind why I want to learn it, but I still think the motivation is very valid. So I love, 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 love how Slavic languages sound. And I used to stay up and watch those like newscaster compilations of all of the Slavic languages just to hear them over and over and over again. And so once I started to get into language learning, I was like, why don't I just learn one of these? So I loved how all of the Slavic languages sounded, and so I was trying to choose in between all of them. And I'm a little bit Polish, and so we used to have these like Polish Bibles in our house growing up, but unfortunately our dogs ate them. And like, I'm not religious or anything, but I just remember how sad that made me, because I really liked to look through them and I loved to read Polish, even though like obviously I had no idea what it was saying. It just kind of sparked this like warm, tender feeling inside of me. And so I was like, okay, Polish is the one that I want to learn. And I was also really intrigued by kind of like how difficult the grammar seemed to be. And so obviously I really love a challenge, and I really love thinking in different ways that, you know, aren't necessarily similar to English. And so I settled on Polish, and obviously I haven't started learning it because it's still the first quarter of the year, but I am so excited to dive in. I still watch Easy Polish, and I still kind of listen to Polish as much as I can, which is honestly not very much. But there's just something about it that I really want to learn more about. So all I can say right now is Cześć, Dzień dobry, which I probably completely butchered, so please don't come for me. And that's actually about it. But I don't know, there's something so cool about it. So I'm excited to get into it. So those are my motivations for learning 4 languages, and I'm actually really excited to see if they change over the next year or 2 years, and to see how that kind of molds as I get further and further into each language. Definitely let me know what your guys' motivations are for what you're learning, because I think this is something that's super, super interesting and kind of comes up once in a while, but not very often. So definitely let me know in the comments below, and let me know anything else you want to hear about my language learning journey, or what I'm doing, or how I'm studying. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Adios! Paalam! Succesu. And I don't know how to say goodbye in Polish, but I'll figure it out and I'll let you guys know. Bye! Next up is...